Welcome to a very special episode of the world of unapologetic living, my friends. This episode features an intimate conversation with a dear friend and spiritual guide who held the flashlight through my fog when I couldn't see the way. Her lived wisdom, 20 plus years of walking this path, and her grounded, heart-centered insight provide the steady mirror we all crave at some point in our journey. She's not for everyone, but if you feel the pull to her energy in your heart, her links will be in the description. She was that first person who gave me the permission I didn't need to stand up and say, this is my life, and I get to live it in the way I want to live it, and I don't need permission from anyone but myself. So listen in, and I hope you hear whatever message it is that you are meant to hear today. I trust in that. Enjoy.
All right, my friend.
We're going to see what happens.
We're gonna see what happens.
All right.
Get comfy. Have a seat in the chair.
Let's see.
Welcome to my space.
Thank you.
You've been here so many times before, you know.
This is where it all began. I mean, the actual growth part of it. Like the intentional growth part of it.
The hard listening part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The part when I realized that I was the fucking problem.
You know, I tell a lot of people that they are their own biggest problems. And a lot of people don't want to hear that at first. They don't want to think that they could possibly be blocking themselves from everything that they want. But your words, your thoughts, your actions all create your reality. And a lot of times it's easier to look for that external reason why something isn't happening or that external person to blame it on, when in reality it always stems back with us.
100%. Looking back, that very first day walking in here,
You were scared.
I was petrified.
I know I scare people. It's okay.
I was so fucking petrified. I didn't know what to expect. I loved magic. I loved everything magic as a kid, but I had pushed that side of myself away for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to listening to the signs, you were brought to me, and I knew that we needed to meet. But my gut, my stomach, not my gut, my stomach was in utter terror.
I've been told by so many people that I am the creepiest person that they've ever met, in the best way.
Yes.
Because I think, people don't know what to expect. You see a lot of, things on TV or movies, and they think that's how it's going to be. But I'm just a regular, average, everyday person, right? Like, we actually come from the same place. So I think once we just sit down and we start talking and we start diving into what's going on in your life specifically, or whoever it happens to be here, and we start listening to spirit, it starts to flow and people start to open up. I just remember you being so afraid of life at that point. Kind of like at our wit's end, so afraid of life, wanting to make a knee-jerk reaction. And you told me a story, and I hope it's okay if I can share this.
I'm an open book, so.
Okay. I don't remember the entire story, but I remember, because I don't remember a lot, but just because you and I have talked so much, and I feel like the story has come up one or two times in our discussions, and it hit me in such a way because it's funny. I identify this product to you now every time I see it.
Okay.
You told me about growing up poor and only having, there was a can of SpaghettiOs to eat, and you gave that to your sister to eat. And that story stuck with me. And it's funny because every time I see a can of SpaghettiOs now, I see your face.
That's so funny.
That I would remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love SpaghettiOs, and my youngest actually is now really into SpaghettiOs.
A lot of times I don't remember a lot,
Yeah.
right? It's just certain things sometimes. But you told me that story. And that story to me represented so much more about like fight or flight, survival mode, like feeling unseen, unheard, just very like grasping at the final straws of life. And I think that I knew that that's how you grew up. And so it was going to take a lot to shift that.
Yeah.
And to shift that energy.
Yeah, it did.
Because it's not like we just had one traumatic event like later in life.
Yeah.
This was more, it was a deeper energetic lesson.
Yeah. This was literally from birth.
Correct.
Like,
this is what you came into, like this is what life is.
Yeah. It was like, I knew that there was sunshine. I knew that I had a light about me. But I didn't understand, and I had pushed the light away for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think stepping in here, like that very first time, I didn't mentally know it. But I think my body knew that I was choosing to finally
To be better.
walk through the darkness, to find that light that I had buried so long ago because I had to in order to survive.
Correct.
And that first day, I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. I literally walked in.
It's where you get the standard question. I still ask the standard question. I still, you know, do you have specific questions for me? Areas you want me to look at? Or do you want me to start and everything, we work everything in?
Just do it.
And, you know, 99% of people say, just whatever. And I actually prefer it that way because spirit can kind of guide what we're going to talk about.
Right.
But every now and then I do get people that bring me their laundry lists of things that they want. And I'm fine with that too because then it's showing that they want to direct the session and I'm fine with that.
Right.
So I just let spirit talk.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody that I'm just the messenger.
Yeah.
I'm just the bringer of the message. I'm not the message itself. I'm just the telephone. So as long as you're able to receive and be open to it, and some of the stuff I might say to you might make no sense right now.
Yep, that happened.
Yep. But then if you think about it, and I've definitely had people call me, message me, years later, 4 years ago you told me, and I was like, great. I don't
remember.
Because I don't, when I'm channeling, it's just a straight channel. There are certain things about some people that I will remember, right? Especially if I get to know them on a different basis. And you and I, obviously, I know you outside of this just from being in the same community.
Right.
But overall, we're just here to bring Spirit's message.
Yeah.
So that if everybody just connected a little bit more with their higher self,
Yeah.
The world would seem a lot less scary. Because if we can empower people, and I try to empower everybody that comes into this office, even if you're not coming into this office, if you're on my Facebook page, you know, there are people on my Facebook that have, you know, never ever stepped foot in here that I've never talked to in a session wise, but if they're commenting on things that I post, energy posts, I try to still empower them as well.
Yeah.
Because we have the power to do anything we want. We came here to do so much. And looking at soul contracts, and because that's something that I look at so much, we write them before we get here. We have infinite possibilities. We could literally learn every lesson in this lifetime. Every single one we're ever supposed to learn in one lifetime. Does it happen? No. Not even close. not even close. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That is why we've all been here a million times, right?
Right.
But we have the possibility to do it. So if we could simply get out of our own way. Yeah. And sometimes it takes coming back to those messages years later, like, oh shoot, that's what she was talking about. Okay, that makes sense. There are things that Spirit tells me that in the moment don't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah.
But I trust it because I trust Spirit.
Yeah.
And I go with it. And I live my life that way, and I parent that way. Just hoping that it will click at some point, and it always does.
Yeah.
Because Spirit never will steer you wrong. It's only when you have all the noise around you that you can't connect to your higher self, you can't step into that power, that we have to start eliminating the noise. So wherever that noise could be a job, that noise could be family, that noise could be friends, that could, whatever that noise is that's stopping you from hearing your higher self. We have to learn how to push that out. It doesn't mean you get rid of those things, because last time I checked, we all still have to work. Just part of life. But it means being able to focus our energy and to be able to be at one with our highest self. Yeah. And if we're able to do that, we're more able to follow our path. And that is an incredibly scary thing, because it's very much against the grain. And I've said this a lot lately, especially with all the different retrogrades that have been happening since June. There's a lot of growth that's happening. It's so commonplace to want to hold on to what you know. But in this time that we're in right now, as Pluto has now shifted into Aquarius, and as we're moving into 2025, which is a 9-year, it's all about completion. We cannot take it with us. We cannot. It is simply going to force us to evolve. How we choose to do that is on us.
That's always been my hardest lesson, as you remember. Walking away, even though you're the first one that pointed the light into the fact that I was a runner.
That you were running away from your problems instead of facing them head on?
Because I always dealt with it for a long enough time till I got to this point where
you let it
was
boil over.
So uncomfortable that I had no other choice but to fucking run.
Because you let the pot boil over.
Yeah.
It sat on simmer for so long,
I
and
never
now
dealt
all of
with
a sudden,
any of it.
yep. And then all of a sudden, it was just too much. And
yeah.
But like we were chatting about earlier, you could have ran.
Yeah.
You could have. It would have been easy. Could have just done from that situation. But the problem is, the lesson would not have been learned. And so what happens with that is you will then get the lesson back bigger, because it always comes back bigger. But you'll be at a disadvantage because it'll be a new game and new players. So you might as well, while you're knee deep in this game with these players, you might as well just finish out the game, because you've already made it this far.
Yeah.
But so many people don't see it like that.
Right.
They're like, oh, screw that board game. I want a different one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the grass isn't always greener. And if the lesson will continue to repeat, we know that. Whether it's about people that we're attracting, or it's about ourselves, or both.
Yeah.
Any of those things. If you continually have the same issues popping up, just different people every single time,
Yeah.
at what point do you start to ask the universe, yourself, why am I attracting? What is it about me?
Yep.
Because it's definitely a you issue. It's not a them issue. You're going to be a lesson for them too.
Oh, yeah. Hardcore.
But if it's the same exact lesson for you, just different people, different situation, it's about you.
Yep.
It's about your growth. And if you continue to run from that, you're really just running from yourself.
Yeah. That was what that... we could actually have a term for it now. Andrew and I joke about it. You know, the almost divorce.
The almost divorce?
The almost kindest divorce. Because we were never angry. And I think that was the first sign that when you told me, don't run from this. Actually, I think the words specifically were, sit the fuck down and learn some patience.
I have a colorful language.
That spoke to me. I was like, okay, she's calling me on my shit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to believe it because, like you said...
It'd be easier to just walk away.
It would be easier.
Easier.
Well, and in my head, the pattern that I had, told myself is once my emotions are shut off to you, once I no longer... care to be in your energy or surrounded by you, once I'm indifferent, I couldn't get it back. But that wasn't actually the case.
No, because really all that was you shut off to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So you had to learn how to turn back on.
Yep. And it took about a year. And all my outside surroundings helped make all of that facilitate the way that it needed to. Because the reason I stuck it out with you and was like, even though
even though you're like, she is batshit crazy,
Like,
I want
shit.
to leave.
Like, no, I'm tired of being a people pleaser. I'm tired of listening to everyone else. Like, I felt like I was taking control over my life for the first time ever. And you were telling me I was wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm going to show her. But I knew that I had to keep coming to see you because you had called me on my shit. And you knew that energetically I was attracted to another person.
Yes.
And
that was your wake-up call.
Nobody knew it. I didn't share that with a freaking soul outside of myself because I was
terrified,
guilty, and felt I was blaming myself. I'm like, this is terrible. What am I doing? I love Andrew. I love my husband. I'm not a cheater. I don't do these things. So like I had all these things rolling around my head. And then I'm sitting with this energy of like, I'm trying to listen to my gut. Is my gut telling me there's something here? Like,
there's
why is this connection so deep? Mm-hmm. And you told me don't run. But COVID happened at the same time.
Which wouldn't allow you to run.
The player was an attraction to somebody that I would have never jumped with because my integrity would never let me. So it wasn't even a possibility. So it made me stop in my tracks.
It was your wake-up call.
And moving through all of it, it led to this deeper understanding of I was trying to fulfill some pattern in myself. I was seeking that outside validation that we talk about so much. I only felt loved if I was taking care of people and they were supporting me.
You were useful to them.
Yes.
So they could give you the attaboy.
Yeah.
And you would be okay with that.
Yeah. But
so
I wasn't getting the
yourself.
attaboy.
Yep. So you could shrink yourself as long as you fit into all of these roles, and if you were getting some sort of an attaboy, at least sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel like as females, we struggle with this, especially as moms.
Yeah.
Because so much of our identity gets tied to being someone's wife and being someone's mom.
Yeah.
That we lose ourselves. And that's like that divine feminine, like we lose that piece. But remember, you wrote a whole soul contract before you got here. You agreed to things, to be things, to play roles for people and yourself, all before you got here, before you were ever a wife or somebody's girlfriend or somebody's mom.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we just need a little redirection to find that.
That redirection, I 100%, I think back, and that was that pivotal change of, I didn't know it at the time, but I finally was trusting something outside myself. I was seeking that support from a place that was more directed at actual growth and not keeping us playing in the small conditioning cycles. You know, I usually went to my mom or my sisters or my family.
All toxic energy that was not on the same wavelength of where you were trying to be.
Well, and especially since it's all got all the other roles that they have in their lives.
Well, and even bigger than that, it's all wounded energy.
Yeah.
That attaches into your wounded energy.
Yeah.
So the wounded part of you is going to them looking for validation.
Yeah.
But you also have to recognize that they're wounded too.
Yeah.
And so you recognize that because you know that you're different, but because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's how you grew up. It's what you know.
Exactly.
It's like where we talk about that light and dark, where people are like, and we're attracted to the dark. Honey, everybody is. That's not just a you thing. That's an everybody thing. Because the dark is comfortable. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
So we always shift back into patterns that are familiar to us.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to look at ourselves, find accountability for ourselves, for our actions, for our words, our thoughts, and to really strive to be in that light. Yeah. And that's where I see a lot of this. People can talk it, but they can't walk it. And I say all the time, you have to walk your talk.
Yeah.
Every day. That's how you get into the light. That's how you get to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Is if you walk your talk.
Yeah.
It's going to take you a while. It takes everyone a while. Healing is the messiest thing you will ever do, but it is the most rewarding thing. And the whole reason why we're here, the whole reason why we made those soul contracts, we made those agreements, we all agreed to play roles for each other, was to come here to learn soul lessons and achieve soul growth. So if you take out all of this 3D garbage, because honestly, none of this matters.
Right.
Everything that we're doing here in this life, the day-to-day monotony of things,
Yeah.
none of it matters. It's what are you learning from these situations? How are you showing up for yourself? What are you learning about other people?
Yeah.
If you look at it from a higher perspective, those are the things that we really need to look at when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to growth, when it comes to connecting to your higher self. Because then you take all of that knowledge and you're more able to apply it to everyday life. And the little things about 3D life won't bother you anymore. They just won't, because you'll realize it doesn't matter. It never mattered.
Yeah.
It doesn't. We did not come here to pay bills and die. I promise you that. We didn't.
Yep.
Some of us are so lucky that we get to do the job that we love to do. Like, I love my job. As you can see, I'm comfortable. I get to come
This
here.
is the best place ever.
I get to come here, right, and hang out and talk to people and talk to spirit and connect with people on the other side. Everybody's session's a little bit different because everybody needs something a little bit different because our paths are all unique.
Yeah.
But I get to do something so awesome every single day that it doesn't even feel like work. I'm fortunate because not everybody gets to do that, right? And I love what I do, and I'm sure that it shows because I've been doing it a long time now. But not everybody gets to do that. And I promise you, we did not just come here to like work and pay bills and watch TV and
Right.
we just didn't.
Yeah.
It's what are you feeding your soul? What are you supposed to be learning? What is happening astrologically that's pushing you to learn?
Yeah.
There's a lot of it right now. There's a ton.
So much of it.
Buckle up through the end of the year. It's going to be fun. Just
Every time you say that,
buckle up.
I used to like get a pit in my stomach of like, holy shit, like I can't do anymore.
And now the
But I
energy should
don't
be
feel that way.
no, because the energy really should be like, all right, bring it on, baby.
Let's do it.
If it's coming, bring it, right? If it's coming,
Ready.
bring it to me.
That
because-
receiving.
That's the growth.
Yeah.
That's the growth that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Because if you're scared of it, of like, oh my God, I just can't do anymore. And I get it. We all get to that point. I talk to plenty enough of people that are like, I just don't want any more lessons. I understand that we all have like hard moments. This summer was hard for me as well.
Right.
But if you are in that mind frame of no more lessons, you are in direct resistance to what you came here to do,
Right.
which is also lack, which is going to push out what you want, and things are going to be harder.
Yeah.
So if you're like, whatever comes, let it come.
Yep.
Whatever shows up, I will deal with it. I will try to be my highest version of self.
Yep.
Sometimes we fall short. That happens to all of us.
Yep.
But I can do this. It's kind of like I tell my kids, I'll say like, are you okay? And they'll go, no. Teenagers.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, okay, well then you're not done yet, because in the end you're always okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not okay yet, that means we're still crawling. I use the analogy of the Shawshank Redemption when Andy Dufresne is crawling through the tunnel of shit.
Mm.
He didn't know where that was going to come out. He just knew he wasn't going back
Yeah.
because he broke out of that prison, and he was going to crawl through that tunnel of shit. And he couldn't see the light at the end of that tunnel, but he knew that it had to dump out somewhere, so he was going to keep crawling. He didn't stop in the middle.
Yeah.
He didn't just give up and say, oh, well, I'm just going to stop right here.
I'm done.
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
Sometimes the lessons get piled up on us, like what you had, where it's like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, you know you can't go back
Yeah.
because that doesn't fit anymore.
Nope.
And we know we can't stay where we are. So the universe is going to force our hand to make the changes. And it would have been really easy for you to run.
It would have.
You just
I
would
was
have repeated
ready.
the lesson. Oh, I remember.
No,
And I was like,
ready.
that will be a bad idea.
I was so ready. I think the very last conversation we had, it was when you said something about if you were going to leave, you would have already left.
Correct.
And as soon as you made that statement, it like connected in my cells. And I'm like, she's not fucking wrong. I would have. Because I did that in every other relationship I had. As soon as I was done, I was fucking done and I was out.
And this was
But I didn't
more
do that
than just, okay, I have kids. Because you had already had a kid.
Yeah, I had already done it once. And as soon as I was done, it was like, I made the choice, we're done, out.
But I think this is also a testament to being able to feel energy.
Yes.
I've literally, people will come to me like when they break up with somebody and they're so hoping that the person's going to come back.
Yeah.
I can feel when somebody's done. When a connection is done, I can feel it. It's done.
Right.
And I knew that you and Andrew weren't done yet.
Yeah.
But you had to know that. Like, and a lot of my job is just guiding. It's just holding the light.
Yeah.
Because if you chose to walk away, if you would have chosen that, okay, we would have been along for the ride. And probably in another few years, we would have been talking about you running again. Right?
Right.
Right? Because our life maps, our contracts are like branches of the trees that go all over the place. That's why they say life's a dance. Sometimes you take a step forward, sometimes you take 3 back.
Yeah.
But you chose to stick it out.
I did.
And it wasn't just for your kids.
No.
It was a journey for you to, it's self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
It was a journey for you to understand who you are, understand your purpose outside of just being someone to help everyone else.
Yes. And because I chose to stay, this is all in retrospect. Like, I made those decisions because I was tuning into my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching life happening for me. Okay, we've got COVID. I can't fucking go anywhere.
Can't leave.
I gotta stay here, so we're gonna make the best of it. Mm-hmm. What am I being guided?
What am I being
told?
shown
Yeah.
right now? Why am I still here?
Yeah. And Andrew, looking back, he made it safe for me. And I didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was that safety for me to be able to discover who the hell I was, because I had never been in a place where I could have that. To feel safe enough to say, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he always held it.
Yeah. And he's still holding it.
He is.
Even at expense to himself right now. Right? So while you're over here discovering and building and figuring out what your next steps are, he's still holding it down.
Yeah.
Doing the same job that he does not love.
Yes.
Right? But again, we got to put food on the table. We got to pay bills. We got to do, which is normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But his time will come.
Yes.
And he's trying to find that. I often say, I've been married for almost 20 years. I often say we cannot both build at the same time. So if I've ever been up, my husband's been down. And vice versa. We've never been, you cannot both build at the same time. Okay. So he's been in a massive rebuilding this whole year.
Right.
So while he's building, I'm here. Right? But in all the years that I've been building, he was here.
He's
right?
the foundation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because if you had 2 people both building at the same time, everything down here would just cease, right?
Right.
Well, like I told you earlier, I'm an average everyday person. I got kids, sports, dinner time, like bedtimes, all the things.
Gotta do all the things.
Do all the things, right?
Right.
And so while I've been building this business and getting myself out there and just doing life, mm-hmm. he's going to work and holding it down.
Yeah.
And now that he's working more and I'm kind of holding it down. Still working my job, but like, right?
Right.
If you both were up here doing it, nothing would get done. If you were both down here, nothing would get done.
Right.
So it has to be a constant
Which
balance.
is so funny that that's how Spirit guided you to speak today, because that's what we talk about when we talk about the almost divorce. Mm-hmm. We literally blew up the foundation that we had because what we had created was
2 very wounded individuals.
All wounded.
Yep.
So
trauma bond to the top.
So trauma bonded.
Yep.
And we had to blow that up
mm-hmm.
to be able to figure out who we were at the core of ourselves, that true self-discovery, mm-hmm. and start rebuilding.
Yeah, to relay foundation.
Yeah.
For what comes next.
Oh, I love how that just solidified.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 20 years. And again, this is that example of walking the talk. That's why I use so many personal examples, because if I can show you that I'm doing it.
Right.
If I can show you that it exists in my own reality,
Yeah.
it can exist in yours and everyone else's too.
Yeah. And because you did that for me, and, you know, life happened for me,
Mhm.
I was able to hear the lessons. You know, I fucked up along the way. I know I did.
We all do.
But I
Own your
learned.
shit. Yep.
Oh, I learned.
Own your shit.
I owned my shit. I moved through it and made a lot of hard choices.
Mhm.
Not always good ones, but I did it, and we found brightness on the other side.
Like
It
I always
was
said,
messy.
are you okay? No? Okay. Well, then you're not done yet. Because
Yeah.
you'll always be okay in the end.
Yeah.
Andy Dufresne makes it to the end of the shit tunnel and he gets out,
Yeah.
lives on the beach.
Legit.
And he was okay in the end.
So I don't think I realized until right now, sitting here with you,
All these years later.
all these years later, like 5 years ago, that flashlight you were talking about, holding that flashlight for me.
Because you had to make the decision.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it for you.
No.
People come in here and they want me to make a decision for them. I can't do that.
Right.
I can show you what your options are and I can show you the clarity that you can't see for yourself because it's your situation
Right.
and you're cloudy. This summer, it's funny, this summer we were kind of going through it in our house and I knew that the situation was shady. You and I talked about this. I
Yeah.
knew that because I could just feel the players in this situation, right?
Right.
And I knew that it was shady, but because it wasn't directly my situation, I didn't have all the information.
Yeah.
And so I asked Spirit to give me, like, just give me an answer so we can just be done with this, right? Like, just, come on, tell me. Doesn't work like that, by the way. And Spirit flat out told me, I'm not going to give you a 3D answer. I said, okay. I was pissed.
Okay.
I was mad because anything that involves my kids, I'm like, I need to know right now.
I
Like,
want
just
this done.
tell me so I can work on the lesson so we can move forward and be done. And Spirit said, I'm not going to do that for you.
Right.
Okay. So then I was like, there's a bigger message in this. What is it? And then they started basically leading me down the path of astrology, which, again, I've been able to connect with Spirit my whole life. I've been able to connect to the other side my whole life. I know enough about astrology at this point in time where I would consider myself serviceable, but definitely not an expert.
Right.
But Spirit started guiding me down this path, and I started looking at the different astrological events that were taking place and pairing them to actual 3D events that had happened. And then it clicked. And then I was able to, like, hear Spirit more clearly
Yeah.
because I didn't have the noise anymore. Make sense?
Yes.
Because when you're trying to read for yourself, and I have no problem taking my kids to other people, right? Like, I'm just mom.
Yeah.
People come from all over the world to see me, but I'm just mom at the end of the day. So you already know how that goes.
I do.
they don't hear
They
you.
don't usually get the lessons from me. It's from outside of me.
Yep. And I mean, I could tell them something till I'm blue in the face, but I could go take them to somebody, like how people show up here in my office,
Every time.
and then they're going to hear it. So it's fine.
We just plant those seeds so they can hear it later.
Right? And so I knew at that point where I was like, there's something so much bigger than anything here, right?
Right.
So I'm being guided to look deeper into things because I'm being guided and shifted,
Yeah.
right? So I'm open to the shift, and then I can openly see why these situations took place.
Yeah.
And then I can understand, and then I can better help support the lessons and be that light,
Yeah.
that flashlight. Because, of course, like true teenager behavior, right? Once everything blows up,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, mom's been saying it for a while, that it was going to blow up, and then it does.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, I'm going to listen now. It's great.
Oh, Mom, can you tell me now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so now they listen. And now we're using astrology to help it, right? And so it's just another tool in the toolbox, along with the channeled messages, along with reading energy, because I'm a Reiki master as well.
Right.
So being able to sit down and, like, read someone's energy it's part of, like, understanding how to read the room.
Yeah.
I've been able to read the room since I was a little kid because I could walk into a room and read everyone's energy
Yeah.
and just know what was going on, even the things that they weren't saying. Like, I knew with you where you were very conflicted internally when you first sat down,
Yeah.
and you hadn't even told anyone.
Yep.
So then you just needed to understand what that person represented for you. And I will be very honest with you, a lot of times the third individual, they are the wake-up call. you're not meant to be with that person.
Yeah.
That person is meant to wake you up
Mm-hmm.
to whether you're meant to leave. And sometimes I have to tell people it's time to go.
Yeah.
It is time to go. You need to move on. You've done everything you can do here, and your lessons lie outside of this now.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, you need to stick it out.
It's funny that you say wake up call too, because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Because
Change your whole life.
that the attraction wasn't a physical thing.
No.
It was like
It's a
deep
spiritual thing.
spiritual thing.
Mhm.
And I was starting to understand energy, trying to understand who I was and diving down all these other modalities. I was starting to understand I felt energy, but I only understood it based off of my own perception of it. So,
Which was very limited at the time.
so limited.
Very limited. And so
That connection was like, is spirit telling me that this is my
This is
next...
where I need to be?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you,
And it
thanks
felt good.
to you, it did. Because I was like, I want change.
It gave you the validation that you were looking for,
Oh, yeah.
even though you were coming from the wounded place.
Yes. And I wanted to grow. I wanted to move. I wanted to feel again. And I was starting to feel again.
In excitement.
But it wasn't the feeling that I needed. And because you said that, it made me stop. Even though I didn't fully trust it, because I was like, I don't want to listen to her.
No, I want to do what I want to do.
Yep.
Okay.
I wanted to be spiteful and be like, no.
And we don't
thank
need
you.
that energy.
No. And it wasn't even like I wanted to like prove you wrong necessarily. It was more like, don't tell me what the fuck to do.
I want to do what I want to do.
Exactly. I was in my teenager stage.
And trust me, there's plenty of people that we sit down and we have those conversations, and I tell them, like, I shine the light. Here's the path that you're on. You can do this or you can do that.
Yep.
And I tell them what I would do if it were me, looking at these lessons, looking at your soul contract, looking at your Akashic records, listening to your guides, listening to my guides,
Yeah.
because that's reading the energy of the whole situation. And I could tell them what to do, and they'll still do the opposite.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, they come back to me and they go, I should have listened.
Yeah.
And I go, you know what? That's okay. That's why we say life's a dance.
Yep.
Because maybe you just weren't ready to listen yet.
Yeah.
But are you ready now? Are you ready to unpack? Because maybe you just gave yourself a few more extra lessons, which, okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool. More opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure. Failure is an opportunity for a lesson. So
Right.
either you set out to do exactly what you asked for,
Yeah.
or you're going to learn.
And what I learned through that is my conditioning, what I was hearing from the world around me, what had been put into me as
All
a
the
kid,
wounds.
all the wounds, is my vision of love was so
Codependent?
foggy,
Yeah.
so cloudy, and just so not healthy.
Correct.
And when I
Very
finally
codependent.
worked through that codependency, the people pleasing, I was so in my
Approval.
masculine.
Mhm.
I was
Which most people
Oh.
are, honestly.
Right.
Right? Because we are in a society that is driven by masculine energy, which has
Yeah.
nothing to do with sex or gender.
no,
So this idea of like the patriarchy, and that's a whole other separate system and energy.
right,
Divine feminine and divine masculine have nothing to do with sex or gender. It has everything to do with energy. But because we're in that society of force, action,
yes,
do,
yep,
sometimes we have to wait.
yeah, and allow,
Yeah, and sometimes and I've learned this lesson a lot in the last 3.5 years, like dealing with my mom's case and everything like that, and knowing that we were going to have to settle in for the long haul, and that a lot of other things were going to have to happen first.
right,
You want to talk about patience and allowing. That's the ultimate lesson.
yeah.
Because people are like, I can't believe you're not doing more. Okay, what more should I do? Spirit told me to wait.
Yeah.
She told me to wait. I asked her if I'm supposed to be doing anything else. Give me a sign. And she told me to wait.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're waiting. And now look, here we are almost 4 years later.
Yeah.
We have some massive changes coming in 2025, which I said would be coming.
Yeah.
And they are coming.
Yeah.
And sometimes that divine masculine energy, like that force, that like, I want it right now. Okay, that's instant gratification. Sometimes if you force it, you'll get exactly what you asked for, but you ain't going to like it.
Nope.
So when she said to wait and Spirit said to wait, okay, we'll wait. Other things have to happen first. What those other things are, sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know.
Right. You just have to.
You'll know when they happen.
Yep.
You'll know. You'll be like, that's what they were talking about.
If you're allowing yourself to see, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you're allowing yourself to be in that, like, I just surrender to whatever this is. And I think sometimes you have to really get to that moment, like you have no control. You literally have to surrender. In this situation with her case, I have zero control.
Yep.
None. Now, do I have a lot going for me? Absolutely I do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I have more than most people do, which is amazing. Every day, because I say that she's the one who brought it. Right?
Right.
Because how in the world do I just happen to have all of this evidence when there are millions of people who don't have it? Because she knows, and she brought it. And I told her, I said, if you want me to do something, you're going to have to give me something to work with. Because nobody's going to listen to me.
Right.
And she gave it all to me.
Because you asked.
Because I asked.
Yep.
And because she wants justice for herself, too.
Right.
So, you know, I just,
Right.
and even in that case, I'm not the bringer of justice. She's just funneling through me.
Yeah.
Right? That's all she's doing. So,
The channel.
again, I'm just the channel. I'm just the telephone. This isn't about me. It's about her. Right? So, again, I just do what she tells me to do. And so, if people just do what Spirit guides them to, and everybody has the ability to connect.
Yes.
Some of us are just way more in tune than others. Again, I was born this way, right? I can smell bullshit a mile away. Or I'll look at my kids and be like, they're lying. Like, that's not true. They're lying. Or like, that's not right. Spirit says that's not right. That's not how that happened, right? So, knowing that, if we can all tune in through meditation, through journaling work, through whatever modality that you work with your connectedness,
Right.
because some people, it's journaling, some people it's meditation, some people it's yoga, whatever.
Sometimes it's a really weird mix that you can't explain.
Doesn't matter, it's your mix.
Exactly.
It's your mix and how you connect.
Diving into what you feel right with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are as unique as our thumbprints. And so when we start talking about people's, patterns and their lives and how people's lives are unfolding, and it gets really, it's a very 3D thing to say, like, well, why is everything working out for them and not for me? Well, that's lack, so we don't do that.
Right.
Your thumbprint is unique. They're not even the same.
Yeah.
Okay? So nobody else has this thumbprint. So if I had to go every single door that was there, I'm just walking down a hallway of life, and I had to hit one of those little thumbprint decoders every single time, if I tried to use somebody else's pattern, somebody else's path to unlock my door, it would not work.
Love that analogy. It's so true.
So we cannot compare ourselves to where somebody else is, or to say like, oh, it just looks so easy for them. Maybe it is and maybe it's not.
Right.
It's not our business. Doesn't matter. Focus solely on what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you learn to drown out the noise and just focus on yourself, then you really become one with Spirit. The more you start hearing Spirit in that way, like when you're one connected with Spirit,
Yeah.
it's like a muscle. Your intuition's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it's going to get. The more you listen to it, the more messages you're going to get. The more synchronicities that you're paying attention to, the more signs, the more you're going to get.
Yeah.
I ask for very specific numbers. I want to know if I'm on the right path. Mom, stepmom, grandparents, spirit guides, whoever, right? Whoever I'm talking to at that day, send me these specific numbers, and they don't repeat. They are birthdays, they are death anniversary days, and I'll be damned if I don't see them nonstop. And the numbers don't repeat. So it's about trusting in those
Yes.
signs. Like, okay, I think I'm on the right path. If I am, show me. And then all of a sudden they start showing up.
Yeah.
You'll know when you fall into alignment. You'll feel it. Every part of your body feels it. Because you feel lighter. You feel energized. You feel connected in a way that is completely undescribable.
Yeah. I didn't start to understand that until this year. Because 4 years of this was just rest
Yep.
My body needed to
Listen.
rest, and I needed to listen, and I was absorbing knowledge. I did deep dives in all manner of different things because I needed to bring in different information.
Yeah.
Because the information that I was carrying
That you
was
were-
not fucking helping anymore.
The information that you were programmed with
Yes.
served your old life and your old purpose.
Yes.
It does not serve your new.
Yep. And I started learning what my body was trying to tell me. I
Correct.
reconnected with, okay, when something is a yes for me,
You will know it.
this is what it feels like in my body.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a no, this is what it feels like. And you can only figure that out by playing and trusting and doing the things until you finally are like, oh, if I follow these nudges, only great things happen on the other side of it. Because
Correct.
it's never going to steer you wrong. It may
Correct.
not always be easy.
And you may not be presented with options that you like.
Yeah.
When people come in here and you were this way when you first came in here,
I was.
they use the word stuck. I don't like that word. We're never stuck. We always have an option. We're always moving, right? The
Yeah.
analogy that I give people is that we're on this giant ball known as Earth, right? It orbits the sun, right?
Right.
Yeah. So do you feel it? We don't feel the Earth moving. So why in the world would you ever think that you weren't moving just because you don't feel it?
Right. I love that.
And this idea of stuck, there's always an option.
Yeah.
You may not like the choices,
Right.
but there's always an option. You can always choose.
Yeah.
You have to choose what's going to help you get where you go next. You and I were discussing this earlier about being in a very realistic place, a very accepting place about where you are. And you may have these big goals up here, which is great.
Yeah.
I hope everybody has these big goals. But sometimes we're down here,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes life has just done a number and we are here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're not going to jump from here to here in one foul swoop, contrary to popular belief, because, social media and everything tells us that it's going to happen right there.
Right.
Well, what's going to happen is if you try to do that, you're only going to make it so far, and then you're going to get disappointed and you're going to quit.
Yep.
Okay? So it's about recognizing if these are my big goals, say this is a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe there's no time frame on it because Spirit's saying we don't need a time frame.
Yeah.
But we're here, so we're going to accept where we are right now in this moment, that we're rebuilding,
Yeah.
that we're trying to figure ourselves out. What is my very next step on this ladder? You wouldn't skip 10 rungs on the ladder.
Yeah.
You would go to the very next one. And then once you master that, then the next one. And eventually you're going to get closer
Yeah.
and you're going to hit your goal. That's why we talk about it being the journey. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the destination. There's always another destination. When I get married, when I graduate, when I buy this house, when I have kids, when I retire, when. When we hit that when, there's always another when.
Yeah. So then you're never happy.
You're never happy.
You're-
And we've all met people like that.
Yes.
It's about the journey to get to that next
Yeah.
place. Like, what is the goal? You can have everything you want. I tell people this all the time. Spirit tells us this, and we know it to be true.
Yeah.
You can have everything you want,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to work in conjunction with the universe in order to get it.
Yep.
Because it doesn't just show up on your doorstep. I don't just say, oh, I need my money on the first of the month, and a bag of money shows up here. Poof. Doesn't happen like that. The universe is saying, okay, I'll bring you the people. Bring you whoever is meant to be here.
Yep.
You get to do your thing. You get to remember why you love doing what you do every day.
You have to have an action to go with the ask.
Correct. It's not just I've been asking the universe and it's not here yet.
Or sometimes
When I hear that, I'm always like,
I've found sometimes it's the quality of the question too.
yeah. Well, you have to be very specific.
Yeah.
If you're not specific, if you just say, bring me a boyfriend.
Yep.
Trust me, I get that. Okay, well, it's like fishing. We live in Michigan, so we got the Great Lakes around us.
Right.
So there's a lot of different kind of fish in the sea.
Yep.
There's a lot.
There's so many.
There's a reason why there's an adage for that. Being that we grew up here in Michigan, we live here in Michigan, you know there's different lures, there's different bait for different fish. So if you're not using the right bait or the right lure, you're not going to catch what you're asking for. If you don't tell the universe what you want and believe that you're worthy of it
Right.
and do the work to get it,
Yep.
you're just going to get whatever the universe gives you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be mad because it didn't give you exactly what you asked for. Well, you didn't ask for anything in specific.
Yep.
If you said, I just want a boyfriend or I want a girlfriend, okay, doors are going to open.
Yep.
And then when you're like, oh, this isn't what I want, and you slam the door, the universe is going to say, wait a minute. You asked and I gave it to you.
Yep. Especially if that inner conditioning is so foggy.
If it's wounded.
And wounded, you're going to attract
Correct.
exactly what you're asking
And you're
for.
going to attract exactly where you are, too.
Yep.
So these people, and I've encountered this a lot in the last 6 months, people that are wearing a mask.
Yes.
People that are not in their authentic self, not walking their talk.
It's really hard.
When they're presenting themselves one way, and they're saying, okay, here's my list of, my Prince Charming, my dream guy.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to get somebody who's going to present as everything on that list. But if you are not also in your authentic self and you are presenting yourself one way and you are not walking your talk, you are going to attract someone else that does not walk their talk.
Yeah.
It's like the sides of a magnet that just...
100%.
So it is so important to be authentically yourself.
Yeah.
I think I wrote a post on it. It was either this week or last week about owning your mess.
Yeah.
About being messy.
Yes.
Right? Now, granted, I'm not telling people to, go share all your stuff. Please, don't do that. Because, unfortunately, when you do that, you give other people ammunition against you, right? So you have to know your audience. But don't be afraid of your mess, because we all have a mess. Yeah. We do. When you own that mess, when you own where you were or where you are, it's okay to say, I'm not okay right now.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, it's been a really crappy 6 months. It's been a really crappy year. But when you own it, you take your power back over it. Nobody can use that against you. It won't work. Right?
Right.
It won't work. Now, I'm not advocating to go share your mess online, because there are some people who just overshare. Please don't do that. Please don't. I mean,
but
if you
I get
feel,
what you're saying.
Yeah. Right?
Because that's been a big message. So when I did the New Dream podcast, that was in the actual description. We're doing this fucking messy because we don't have to apologize for being human. We're gonna mess up along the way. We're gonna own it, and we're gonna use it to then, what's the next lesson?
Can I push you forward?
How do we move forward from this?
Right.
We don't have to hide it anymore.
Remember what I talked about a lot this summer in my writing, especially with all the different retrogrades that we had, with Pluto and Saturn, Neptune, all these different retrogrades we had. And what were the main themes that I kept saying over and over again? I kept talking about the illusions. Yeah. The illusions would be shattered around situations, around people, and finally around ourselves. Yeah. So as we started seeing things different, oh, wow, I never thought that would happen. I never thought that person would betray me. I never thought that would happen.
Right.
Wow. I've never really seen that person like that before. They just showed their true colors. Okay. How many people stopped at those first two and then did not move to the third part to say, what are the illusions around myself
that I'm bringing in?
How did I attract this?
Yeah.
Right? Why did I attract this? What am I supposed to be learning from this? What do I need to change to not put myself back in that situation? How many people connected that full circle? I guarantee you not a lot. Yeah. I guarantee you it's easier to see it in everybody else, right? Which is why, in reading, I can see things with other people, no problem. I'm not connected to the situation. Right. I have no skin in the game. What you decide to do is what you decide to do. So I can see it very clearly. When it gets to ourselves, sometimes it gets messy, which is where we need Spirit's help to direct us. And sometimes if you're in that illusion, it can be really hard, because especially if there's a lot of illusion type energy around, a lot of fogginess, a lot of lying, a lot of that. Yeah. It's going to be hard to see. So it's going to be easier to project, well, that person did this or that situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Very much. You very well could have been betrayed by your best friend and you never thought that was going to happen. Okay. But why? Were they always like this and you just didn't see it?
Right.
Were you like this at one point and now you've grown and that's why the alignment doesn't work anymore?
I have some friendships like that.
Yeah. Right? So it's about looking at ourselves. Yeah. Dropping the illusions around situations, dropping the illusions around people. and then finally around ourselves. And that's this entire 6-month journey that we've been on astrologically has been about that.
Yeah.
If you've done the work, you've earned what's come next. I've talked a lot about that. People don't like that phrase that I say, that how you handle all these things will determine what you, like, how you earn what comes next.
Right.
But it is.
It is.
If you don't do this work, you're not going to earn to the highest potential of what comes next. You're just not. Spirit cannot take you to a 10 if you're at a 2. It
Right.
does not work like that.
You know, and I see that, and it makes me go inward.
As it should.
Like, okay, realistically, I know that I've done a hell of a lot. Like, every day, it's sometimes too much. I'm sometimes way too into myself. And not, like, in this weird way of, like, I only care about me, but because I know.
Self-care is not selfish.
Yes, like, I know that if I'm not okay, my outer reality isn't going to be okay either.
What I tell you a long time ago? Crazy on the inside reflects crazy on the outside. And when I say crazy, I don't mean like you're wacko. I mean, like, if you have belief systems that are struggling, if you have wounds that are struggling, if you have a mess on the inside that's chaotic, your inside world is going to reflect your outside world.
Yep.
It is not your outside world then affecting your inside world, which is what everyone believes it to be.
Yep.
Which is where I say, like, okay, we need to start eliminating.
Mm-hmm.
Addition by subtraction, baby.
Right.
Oh, that friend's toxic, they gotta go.
Gotta
this situation isn't, we gotta step away, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the only way to fix what's in here, if it's then gotten so out of control, is to remove all of these situations so that you can see things more clearly here.
Hear it.
And then you don't allow yourself to go down that path again.
Yep.
Make sense?
It does. And
That's the learning, that's the growth.
understanding that there are many different ways. And that is the core theme, I think, of this podcast.
And what works for one isn't going to work for the other.
Exactly.
That's
I
right.
can sit here and say, this has been my journey, and it's been chaotic and messy. And I can look back, it wasn't fucking easy.
No.
There were many times that I was cursing it. And
You wanted to run and
I
be
was
like, I'm
done.
done. I'm done with this.
I'm so tired. Like, why? But on this side of it, I know I've got more coming. I can feel it.
Because here's the thing, once you start, you don't stop.
No.
And then once you realize, like I said earlier, the whole reason why you are incarnated here
Yeah.
is to learn soul lessons and achieve soul growth.
Yes.
Imagine it like being at Cedar Point. You're on this roller coaster. It's clicking, click, 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 click. Oh, then you're born. And it doesn't stop until it stops, right?
Right.
The momentum is not going to stop until it stops.
Right.
So once you wake up, once you have your, awakening moment, which some people get them in small spurts. Some people are born really awake.
Right.
Some people have a big awakening, like a definition or defining moment that brings it.
Yeah.
Everybody's timing is different for this.
Yeah.
But once it starts, once the roller coaster goes up over the thing and the clicking stops,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop until you're done. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And the lessons only get harder as you keep mastering them. It's like levels in a video game. They don't get easier, do they?
No.
No, they get harder. Remember when we were kids playing Donkey Kong? Got harder until you finally got to the end, right?
Yeah.
And you finally won. But how many times you throw that controller? Probably a lot.
Yeah.
I used to throw the controller all the time, turn it off, get mad, rage quit. Right?
That was me.
Rage quit on the Nintendo.
Done with this shit.
Right? That's what my kids, they get so mad. Done. Right?
I have to walk away right now.
Exactly. This is just, it doesn't get easier
Right.
as you go on. It gets harder. But your level of understanding, your
That's it.
level of growth gets bigger. So it's not like you're still here and it's just piling up against you. You're learning, you're growing the entire time. You're learning what works.
Yeah.
So you're growing along with it.
And it's almost like where I can feel into it now is I know more mess is coming. And
Okay.
I'm all for it. Like, bring it
Specifically
on.
next year. It's fine. Just intuitively, like, get ready, babes. It's
Well,
okay. It's okay.
You say that, and like,
You'll be fine.
I'm okay with it though.
But
because of where I'm at.
Mhm.
because of the lessons that you aligned for me. Like, you shined the light that I wasn't able to shine for myself in that moment. You
Because you were
shined
so
that
frustrated.
light. I was so frustrated. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. And because I knew I felt safe with you, even if I was also like,
What the hell?
Oh, it's like I put you on that pedestal where I had my mom. You know, my mom was that go-to person that I would go to. And not that I don't love my mother, and I still have these feelings. Like, she brought me to where I was at.
Correct. You chose her before you got here.
I did.
There's a really important role there. Like,
Yeah.
I tell people, we pick our parents before we get here.
Yeah.
Some people look at me and say, you're fucking crazy. And I said, no, trust me, you did.
And I see that.
All of the biggest lessons, when you think about the hardest or biggest lessons that you've ever learned in this life,
Yeah.
they came from the hardest moments.
Yes.
Truly they did. That's when we see what you're made of.
Yeah. And that codependency, that people pleasing, that very first moment of external validation, it all stemmed from that very connection.
Even today, you and I were just having a little chit chat.
We did.
Just a little chit chat about, life. And again, it wasn't about you.
Yeah.
Right? Now you see it completely differently. It wasn't even about you. Let them have their moment.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to interject with your moment.
Yep.
Because that's also that, external validation. That's
Yeah.
that next level of that lesson.
Right.
So this is where we talk about lessons spiritually having it's like an onion.
Yeah.
Multiple layers. So while you've already mastered these outside layers of approval, look at the behavior that we were able to identify just in setting up today.
Yeah.
We were just chit-chatting about life and something that happened recently.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do you know what that is? Do you know? Do you know what that is? There it is. And so it's like, oh, all it is the next layer of that onion.
That onion. Yeah.
That onion coming apart.
Yep.
Because now you can see it differently.
Yeah.
You just needed somebody to point it out.
And that's where I didn't always have that ability, because I had known that I was tired of listening to everyone around me, because I had created my life based off of what other people told me I wanted. And I was in that beginning stage of, what is it that I want? But how do I figure that out on my own when I don't have the tools? So when I met you, it was like, okay, now you're on that pedestal. And I didn't know I did it. And about a year to a year and a half in, I had this awareness, like my body started telling me, like, you need to stop going. And I'm like, but why? I want to go see her.
Like, I like her.
I want to see my friend. Like, I didn't understand. But I listened to my body. And then I reached out to you.
Because that's the lesson in learning to listen to yourself.
Because I had put you on that outside validation. I was trying to only make decisions through what you said was okay. Instead of learning to find that trust and that safety in
Without
my
even
own
having
body.
to ask.
Yeah.
Only person you ask is spirit.
Yeah. And so I went on another journey on my own, had all these massive realizations. Everything happened for me. It wasn't easy, but my God, it was fun. In a lot of places, when I had that realization on the other side, it was like, this feels good.
When you have those epiphany moments, when you have those epiphanies, when all the pieces of the puzzle just connect,
Yeah.
it's a feeling that I can't even describe. I've had so many of them because I've been on my own little journeys this summer, right? We talked about that. And it was funny because actually it was election day. I had a really big epiphany on election day, which had nothing to do with the election.
So did I.
Okay.
So
And I think that has to do with the energy lightening up, and that's why. But
Right.
I had a personal epiphany about someone that, like, at first, when we talk about, like, the mask, right? We talk about the mask that they were wearing.
Right.
And so I was able to see through, and I was like, but what is it? Like, and being that Aquarius,
Yeah.
I need to know. It's a really bad quality to
That's
have.
a thing.
It is a thing. We are weird. It's fine. But I'm on the cusp. So and it was on election day. And so this entire process, like, at first I was like, no way this person couldn't be like that. But then I started, like, looking at things, and spirit was like, no, it is. And I was like, okay, so that illusion was shattering, right?
Right.
About that situation and about that person
Right.
all summer. And then I was like, okay, I believe it now because Spirit is telling me and I'm seeing things through a different lens. But it was on election day when I felt their energy, their true energy for the very first time.
Oh.
Because it was completely unmasked to me.
Right.
And how bad it truly was. And I was like, I got you. I got you. So I was able to fully, I literally was so enamored by my epiphany. I was like texting my daughter. She's like, you've been having epiphanies all week. I'm like, yes, I have been. Right? But it's because all of the pieces of the puzzle that Spirit had been putting for me just connected. So I can sit here and just have a conversation with you, and it's very clear cut because as I'm having a conversation with you, I'm having a conversation with Spirit, and I wish it were that easy for me all the time. And connecting with Spirit, it never is.
Right.
When it's about yourself and there are emotions involved and things are emotionally charged.
Yeah.
And so Spirit would give me pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And all summer, for the better part of 6 months, I've been putting together pieces of this puzzle randomly. And I will get them at the most random of times. I could just let it go. Again, the law of detachment says once you let go of something, everything shows up. It truly does.
Yes.
Always at the moment I'm least expecting anything where I'm just moving on with life, it will drop in my lap. And I'm like, thanks, Spirit. Thank you.
That's what I needed.
Thank you. Now I understand that. That's why okay, we just needed to turn this one. Okay.
Yep.
Right? But it was then on that day that I actually felt the energy, and it was so bad. And that's why I knew at that point that person could no longer exist in my space or the space of my family.
Right.
Because Spirit was protecting. Always. I always say rejection's redirection.
100%.
Rejection is God's protection. If God or Spirit is moving something out of your life, it is not your job to question it.
Right.
It is your job to say, okay, I don't understand. Show me.
And you can have grief in it.
Correct. You can.
Let it go.
But don't chase it. We don't chase, we attract.
Yep.
If you try to chase, you're going to ruin your abundance.
Yep.
Right? And so, never in this process did I ever say, I really want that person to come back. No. Never. But I needed to understand why.
Yeah.
Because I needed to understand the situation in order to understand, again, the Aquarius part of me.
Yeah.
The lesson. Because I can't help other people if I don't fully understand myself.
Yeah.
Right? Of what's going on. And going back into that, what I said to you earlier, I can feel when something's done. I know this person's not all the way out of the energy yet. I know before the end of the year that person will be coming back, and that person, it's a lesson for a member of my family.
Oh,
and that lesson is to say, no, thank you.
Right.
And that will be a hard lesson. But it has to be done. And that's why Spirit is guiding that way.
I love how your gift works. And I think because I loved how your gift works so much, that because of that outside validation that I didn't realize I was placing on you, because sometimes we do need support.
Yeah.
Healthier support on the outside of us. Find people that are doing things in ways that are healthier than you are. And listen to your body when it comes in. So tech understanding, that's what stopped me in a lot of things. Is
fear.
Not having those,
It's just fear.
That fear.
Fear because you didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because it can be scary. Not knowing what to do can be scary.
Well, and that's where the trust got deeper for me. But to bring that back, the reason I talked about your gifts and how they kind of not intimidated me, but I loved them so much that it made me question my own self, realizing I wasn't allowing to flow what needed to come out of me because my gift does not work in the same way as yours does. And it's not supposed to.
Unique, remember?
Yeah. So that's where that really personal journey of diving into what is my body, my connection with Spirit telling me.
What am I supposed to be doing?
How do I hear messages? What do I need to do in order to get the messages, to be able to see things and start playing in my own life?
Mm-hmm. And start actively creating your life as opposed to being a participant or just an observer.
Yeah. Realizing that I have the ability to create whatever the fuck I want.
Anything. We're all unique as our thumbprint.
Yeah.
Trying to open your door with my thumb won't do it.
Yeah.
It's not how that works.
Oh.
And so that's where we have to hone in. And honestly, there are some people who are not meant to fully evolve in this life because they've just not allowed themselves. We all have infinite possibility.
Right.
Some people are not allowing themselves, and that's okay.
Do those people ever come see you? Like, have you ever had to tell somebody, like, they're not gonna get the lesson, or do you still just hold the space?
I hold the space because if they're here, that shows me that they were guided to be here.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
That there is still hope, even if I know that when they walk out the door, they're not going to get it.
Okay.
Right? I always tell people that we have unique perspective.
Right.
You and I are the only two living people in this room right now.
Right.
We may have two very different perceptions of what this session looks like.
Right.
Because we have unique perspective.
Yeah.
But I believe that everybody who walks through that door is guided by spirit, because I don't do this like just to make money.
Right.
If I did that, I would charge a hell of a lot more than what I do, because I
Right.
don't. I have an agreement with the universe that everyone who's meant to be here shows up. So if they walk through that door, that shows me there is a reason, like they want something. There's something that they need to hear. I believe that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Even if they walk out of here and they're like, she's fucking crazy. Okay.
But you did your part.
I did my part.
Yeah.
Right? I did it. And they may be one of those people who comes back to me 4 years later who says, remember when you said XYZ? Yeah, I understood it now. It took me like 2 or 3 years to get it. Okay. But you got it.
I love that.
But you got it.
Yeah.
Right? It's about trusting. It's about
Yes.
knowing. Right? Not being afraid.
Yeah.
In my adult life, I haven't been afraid of my intuition. I think at 30, I just stopped giving a fuck what people thought in general. Just didn't care anymore. It's like, whatever.
That's fair.
Now at 40, I'm like, I love this. Right? But definitely like through the teenage and 20s, right? Like, because you want to fit, and talking to spirit is so hard because spirit's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I just had this conversation with my daughter because we were getting ready to go into Jupiter retrograde, and I told her she's had a rough summer. And I told her as we were going into Jupiter retrograde, I said, you're going to lose more. Because Jupiter is your planet of expansion. But when it's in retrograde, it's about shrinkage. And I had a feeling all the crappy people in her life weren't done yet.
Yeah.
They all hadn't showed themselves yet. You know, being a teenager is hard.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I like my friends. I don't want them to go anywhere. So I said the message, right? And about 2 days after Jupiter went retrograde, Spirit gave a message that it was coming. And it came. And yeah, we had a lot of shrinkage.
Yeah.
A lot of illusion shatter, a lot of just stuff. But we're flowing.
Right.
Just going with it. Because that's what was meant to happen.
Just let it be.
Let it be. Does it hurt? I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But that's part of the lesson. That's the reflecting back, looking at what we're supposed to be looking at.
Yeah.
How did we end up in this situation? Would these people have even been people that we should have had in our space? Did we just outgrow them?
Right.
Where do we need to listen to ourselves more? Right? I think when my mom died, and I've known you since before that, actually.
Yeah.
I was really loud when she died. I was really loud about how she died.
Yeah.
And people looked at me like I was crazy. But I knew.
Yeah.
I knew ahead of time. She told me her body was still upstairs. The police were still there. Her body was still upstairs, and she came and she sat down next to me, and she said, wow, I wish I would have listened. I was like, yeah, we're not having this conversation right now, because I was kind of pissed. At that point, I was like, I need a minute. But I knew, and I started saying it, and
Yeah.
people literally looked at me like I was nuts. 5 months to the day. 5 months to the day, her autopsy was released and proved everything I'd said the whole time, which also happened to be her birthday. Not a coincidence at all, right?
Right.
Not a coincidence. But I believe that there's purpose in her story. I believe that there's a shift for me personally because of her story. So we just took her story worldwide.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that still reach out to me today, who have heard her story, who are like, this happened to my family.
Yeah.
This, how do we do this? Like, she is the face of this.
Right.
Because nobody else wanted to talk. I remember a lawyer had said to me, you don't want to say anything. I said, why? Telling the truth. I have documentation to prove it.
Right.
And her story's not done yet. Spirit says it's not done. So I guarantee you that first reporter, we actually did the first story right here.
Yeah.
I guarantee you she thought I was a loon. And I told her, don't worry, I'll be seeing you again. When the final lawsuits and everything go through, we'll be chatting again. And I'm sure she looked at me like, you are crazy. But I know I'm not crazy. I've already been proven right. Spirit's been proven right. My mom's been proven right. Here we are.
Yeah.
So now we just wait.
Because even though everyone outside of you
Was telling me I was wrong.
no fucking idea what you see and think you're nuts.
They think I'm nuts. There's no way possible. This is the height of COVID. This is spring of 2021. The vaccines are just coming out. There is no way possible. I must be a conspiracy theorist. I must be crazy out of my mind to believe this.
Yeah.
And I proved it.
You did.
And I proved it.
Because you trusted.
Yeah. I listened.
You listened.
I listened. And I knew that even if I didn't get that piece of paper, even if it didn't come back that way, say it would have come back a different way,
Right.
I knew what it was already saying.
Yeah.
I knew I was right from the beginning, because Spirit came to me and told me in January of 2021. I was sitting right here. I was in between clients on a Sunday. I'll never forget it. The Spirit came to me and we talked about it. And Spirit told me, because I was like, okay, yes or no? What is this? Tell me what we're in for with this. And Spirit told me. And I shared that message with very close friends and family. And everyone listened but my mom, and everyone's still here but my mom. And I was like, huh. And Spirit also, through my grandfather, came to me in a dream, her parents, 3 weeks before she died, to tell me they were preparing to receive, and it was before she was even vaccinated. And if you remember, go back to when COVID first started. We were in March of 2020, and my grandfather, my mom's dad, came to me in a dream. And he kept saying a specific date over and over again. And I thought at that time, I was like, maybe that's when we're going to start to get some answers as to what the hell is going on with this crazy stuff. Because I knew it was more than what we were saying, and I've always said that. And hello, it has been, right? Well, that date came and went in April, and nothing happened in 2020. And I thought, well, I don't know. Like, it was just an unremarkable date, but he wanted me to know. And fast forward to a year later, that's the day she was vaccinated.
Oh.
So he was telling me in March of 2020 that date was going to be significant. And in 2021, it was significant. And in March of 2021, he came to me before I took my family on spring break, and he told me they were preparing to receive. And that is my cue from Spirit that someone is going to die. Her and I had that entire conversation in her house. I'll never forget it, standing there in front of her dishwasher. And I told her, I said, your mom and dad came to me, and that's what they told me, and that's my cue that someone's going to die. And she was just like flabbergasted. She goes, God, I hope it's not me. And in that moment I knew, but I didn't know how yet. Then fast forward a week later, she was vaccinated, and 13 days later she was dead.
Wow.
You want to talk about some trust?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you had to trust that there's nothing you could do in that situation.
Nothing. It was already set before we got here.
Yeah.
It was this entire chain of events, as shitty as it is.
Right.
Was a chain of events that her and I agreed to for some fucking reason. I don't fucking know why, Sandy. Why do we do that? I know why, but my point is, why do we do that?
The human in you is like, what the fuck?
Well, did you really think I wanted to fight with federal government? Because I really don't want to.
Right.
Right? But it was something that we agreed to, which means there was a bigger lesson in it for me, and there was a bigger lesson in it for her as well as other people.
Yeah.
And we're still living that message, that lesson every day.
Because we're all connected.
Correct. Do you know how many people I've met through this, like, so many people. Tons. People that have seen her story and they're like, that happened to me too. Or that happened to my family member.
Yeah.
Or they just have questions because they're generally, like, concerned. Right? And I'm not here to tell you what to do with your body, right? Like, it's not my job.
Yeah.
Do it, don't do it. You do what you want.
Right.
I just know the message that I got.
Right.
And here we are.
And became that outside validation that we shouldn't need,
Correct.
but a lot of us look for in the
Correct.
beginning of our journeys. You guys became that sounding board.
Correct.
That board to say, hey, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to share your story.
Yeah.
It's safe to do
Oh,
so.
trust me, it wasn't safe to share that story. I shared it anyway.
Well, I'm meaning you were the ones that showed them. I did it. You
Yeah.
can now do it too.
Yep.
Like,
And there was a lot. I mean, I was on the 6 o'clock news. They came to my house.
right?
Where
I remember that.
Yeah, trust me, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Right? And how they wanted to spin that, and I was like, well, you guys can spin it any way you want, but a 14-page autopsy report isn't gonna lie,
Yeah.
right? You can say it's rare all you want. That's great, it very well it could be, but it doesn't negate what just happened.
Right. That this thing happened.
Correct.
because
This
of
event
this.
happened.
Like,
These series of events happened.
yeah.
It's fact. It's proven.
And actually, that I was still coming in here to see you, and I already was feeling a certain way in my body, and then felt the validation.
Did we talk
of,
about it?
I don't want to fucking do that.
Yeah. Some people I talked about it with, and other people I didn't. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's your choice, right? Like, I can't tell you what to do with your body, nor would I.
Yeah.
It's not my
and
job.
you never did.
Yeah.
We were connecting, because that's
Yep.
what we do.
Yeah.
You were telling me your story. I was holding space for you while you were holding space for me, and it's very reciprocal. And while you were sharing, whether you realized it or not, I already had my own feelings in my body, and I'm like, there's the validation I needed.
Yep,
My
I
gut's
needed
not
this
telling me
conversation.
wrong.
Yep. I needed this conversation today
Yeah.
to show that this just isn't for me.
Yep.
Right? And that's,
And then I stuck with it. Like, no, I know in my body that this is not right for me.
and that's all I can ask for is people listen
Yeah.
to themselves and whatever decision that they make.
Yep.
Follow
And I
your
did that
intuition.
all through everything you said to me. I never ever said, well, Tatum said. I would go, Tatum told me this, and this is how I feel about it. I always had fucking choice.
You always have choice.
Always.
Yeah. You can listen to me or not. You can
Yeah.
think I'm the craziest person that has literally ever lived.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. And I did.
Or you can listen.
For a minute.
Right? Or you can listen.
Yeah.
The person who referred you to me, I told her some stuff, and she looked at me like, there's no way that's ever going to happen. And less than a year later, it did. And it changed her whole life.
Yep.
Her whole life. I remember her sitting right there in that chair, and she was like, that is never going to happen. I am never going to do that. I said, okay. But her knowing that that opportunity was going to come her way, and that if she took that opportunity, it would change her whole life.
Right.
And she took it, and it has. For the better.
Yeah.
For the better.
And she might not have
What
done
if,
that.
Yeah, what if we never would have talked about it?
Yeah.
Then she would have stayed in her own mindset. She may not have even been open to hearing that opportunity.
Right. Which is why we have to listen to those pulls.
Mm-hmm.
If something is pulling you into the bakery, even though you don't need to be at the bakery,
Then go to the bakery.
Go to the fucking bakery.
You might find $100 on the floor. You might meet somebody that you never thought
There's
you
a
would.
connection, like
Right?
whatever.
Right?
There's something
There's
there.
something, or you might just get a jelly donut. I don't know.
Exactly, maybe.
Either way, but like there's something. If something is telling you to do it, you go.
Yep.
You just go. If you do that, you'll be more in alignment.
Yep.
And you'll be happier.
So on that note, this is where I'm going to remind the viewers that if you feel that pull after watching this conversation, her links will be up.
Come see me.
She's changed my world. Now, I say that in a direct reflection of, I did the work,
Yeah, you have to do the work.
but she held that space and held me accountable and was not afraid to tell me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear.
And you may not have always
Oh.
liked me. There
There were
definitely,
moments.
I definitely have had clients where they're like, I didn't like you very much after that session. That's okay. But it's okay.
Yep.
You got over it because you came back.
It was more of like, she can't be fucking right. Like, I don't like this. I don't like what she had to say.
A lot of people have that.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't like this. Well, I'm not getting paid to tell you what you want to hear. I'm getting paid to tell you what you need to hear, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want that karma.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people out there. If you just want somebody who's just going to validate you and give you what you want, they will take your money.
Yep.
Their karma is not good.
And that's
do
why,
not want that.
And that's why there's a lot of people who hear, psychic medium, and they're like, oh, no, not for me.
Nope.
And I'm like, you don't realize that you have to find the ones that are authentic.
Yeah, you have to find the ones that are doing the work for the right reasons,
Right.
that are listening to spirit, that are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good people out there.
Yes.
There's a lot of not good, because in the Bible, just like in spirituality, the law of duality, or you can look at it from Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere there's good, there's bad. That's how that works. If you didn't have bad, would you know good?
Right.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't, truly. So you have to find what fits for you. I'm not a one size fits all. I won't fit everybody, and that's okay.
And getting to that point is so freeing when you realize I can't be chosen by everyone, because if I'm being chosen by everyone, then I'm not being me.
Correct. You are not being your authentic self, because the truest of people run in small circles.
Yeah.
Because they protect their energy.
And they are doing the work that actually fills them instead of drains every ounce of their energy away.
And there's enough that drains in our everyday society.
Legit.
There's enough. We don't need to drain more.
Legit. So I thank you for holding this space.
Thank you.
This first episode.
Come and hang out.
Yes, come and hang out with her.
My office
She's
is
the
fun.
best.
We
It
have
is fun.
recliners. We have all the fun stuff.
She does phone calls too, but this is way better.
Yeah,
Like,
I
fly
do.
here.
I
You
have
to.
lots of clients all over the country, but if you want to fly here, by all means. Michigan can be fun.
You walk into this room and it is the safest, calmest, purest place. Even as like that first session, you might be freaking out inside. You know you're safe. You know you're good here.
Yeah, everyone's good here.
So, on that note, till next time.
Thank you.
Flow like rivers, wild and free. Dive into oceans that call to thee. Breathe in the wind, let it carry your name. Unapologetic living is your claim. Let the waves whisper your story bold. Their rhythm eternal, their wisdom old. Echoes of dreams in the sea foam's dance. Find your truth, take the chance. The tide is rising, beckoning your soul. Crash through the doubts, make yourself whole. The world is vast and the water's deep, where courage wakes and fear's asleep. In every droplet you're alive again. With every ripple a new world begins.